Poland has recently signed multi-million-dollar contracts for the purchase of armaments from South Korea. We are talking about nothing less than Warsaw signing a whopping 14.7 billion, with a B, in new orders to the South Korean military complex in 2022 alone. And take note, because more money is on the way. And do you know what this means? It means that what is set to be one of the largest NATO armies in Europe, if not the largest of all, will be largely and even mainly equipped with South Korean weapons. In total, Poland will have 1,000 K2 Black Panther tanks, 48 Kai FA-50 fighters, almost 700 K9 Thunder self-propelled howitzers, and 288 K239 Chunmoo multiple rocket launcher systems in the coming years. Why is Poland going to rebuild its armed forces with South Korean weapons? Well, there are four main reasons for this. The first, of course, is the speed of delivery. The South Koreans managed to deliver the first 10 K2 tanks and 24 K9 howitzers to Poland in record time. But how is it possible for South Korean industry to have such fast delivery times? Well, this is basically possible thanks to the fact that this country is a huge industrial powerhouse that also has a very active military sector, not least because it is constantly producing to meet the demand of the South Korean armed forces itself. Another advantage is their greater ease of finding supplies. To give an example, modern weapons are equipped with a lot of very complex systems that need a huge amount of chips. And guess what? South Korea is the world's second largest semiconductor producer, just behind Taiwan. They basically turned themselves into a one-stop shop. The South Korean defense industry has strong and stable ties with its suppliers, including semiconductor manufacturers. That's the advantage of having a large industrial base. You have easier access to all kinds of components and supplies. This is one of the main reasons why Poland will almost certainly be able to receive 180 Korean-made K2 tanks and 212 K9 howitzers by the end of 2025 or early 2026. But wait a minute, Josh, didn't you tell us before about 1,000 tanks and almost 700 howitzers? Well, yes, well spotted. And here we come precisely to the second reason why buying arms from South Korea is much more attractive than from other major exporters. Do you understand what I mean? Well, the South Koreans are very flexible when it comes to authorizing the manufacture of their weapons abroad through licensing. Business is business. Unlike the United States, which is very restrictive in allowing its advanced military technologies to be manufactured outside the country, the South Koreans have no major problems with that issue. Let's just say that their primary goal is to win the contracts. And so, after the deliveries of the tanks and howitzers purchased by Poland that are manufactured in Korea are completed, it will be the Poles themselves who will manufacture the more than 800 tanks and almost 500 howitzers to complete the rest of the contract. In other words, these will be manufactured in Poland and not in Korea. Now, what are the advantages of this? Well, on the one hand, for countries interested in investing large sums of money in defense, it is much easier to justify and more popular with the public if the bulk of these weapons are manufactured at home. And then on the other hand, this also makes it faster to complete the production of the weapons, since they are not depending on a supplier in a distant country to produce them. So it's a win-win situation. Arms, jobs, and an industrial base for the buyer, and profits for the seller. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, if these two might already seem reason enough to understand the choices of countries such as Poland, the truth is that there is even more. I'm certain that many of you may be thinking that one of the reasons that weighs the most in the equation are the prices. And it is true, South Korean weapons are cheaper than those of other Western countries. For example, take the case of the K9 self-propelled howitzer from the Hanwha Group. You see, two of its main competitors in terms of performance and capabilities are the French Caesar and the German Panzerhaubitze 2000. All three are technologically advanced howitzers with similar performance and NATO standard 155mm caliber. To give you an idea of the competitive advantage the South Koreans have, while a French Caesar costs about $7.5 million and the German PZH 2000 costs up to $10 million, a K9 Thunder costs only $4 million. Less than half the price of the German model. And you may be wondering, so what's the catch? Well, the truth is that there isn't one. It is merely a question of cost and economies of scale. The South Korean military has a heavy demand for artillery equipment and supplies because of the threat posed by North Korea. This has meant that both the military and manufacturers are constantly expanding and upgrading their artillery equipment to fire farther and farther, and with increasing accuracy against North Korean ground targets. The Germans, for example, are the opposite. Their military is hampered by years, decades of disinvestment, and their military companies have much less local demand, which makes it more difficult to maintain profitable production lines at low prices. South Korean weapons have been modernized and have reached levels of sophistication and complexity that are already not far behind many of the best US weapons. For example, although it is far from the only equipment with a high level of sophistication, there is the case of the K239 Chunmoo multiple rocket launcher system. Those of you who support us on Patreon already know the many details about this impressive system because we told you about it in a recent weekly snapshot bulletin. The K239 Chunmoo has been dubbed by military specialists as the closest alternative to the US HIMARS. This equipment has become incredibly popular since the war in Ukraine. And take note, because the South Korean one is about 20% cheaper. The Chunmoo is a multiple rocket launcher system developed between the South Korean Agency for Defense Development and Hanwha Defense Company. This system makes it possible to launch rockets of different caliber, explosiveness, and penetration in the same load. Thanks to the fact that its launchers are divided into two independent capsules, it can operate in saturation mode, like a Russian Grad, or in precision mode, like the HIMARS, even in the same launch. In this way, the same system can clear large areas of the enemy line, or destroy specific targets with an accuracy of less than 10 meters, or 32 feet. In addition, Hanwha has developed a wide range of missiles of various caliber and range for this system. With a single charge, it can fire up to 40 131mm unguided rockets with a range of 36 kilometers, or 22 miles, in less than 1 minute. And if precision is desired, it can also fire 12 239mm guided rockets at a distance of between 160 and 200 kilometers. That's 100 to 124 miles, a distance that they hope to extend in the coming years. And these are just a couple of the options, because the system is much more versatile than HIMARS when it comes to choosing the type of rocket. The question is, will South Korea succeed in establishing itself as one of the 4, or perhaps even 3, largest arms exporters in the world? Will we see any of these promising weapons operating in more European countries? You can leave your opinion here below in the comments. And remember, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any news. Once again, thank you so very much for being there. All the best. See you next time.